Okay, hello. We're the collaborative podcast annotation workflow group. So we are one of the 3 groups that branched off of the, I believe it's content and structure group that was sitting over there. We all kind of started doing the same thing. So we looked at standardization, we looked at IIIF, and in the process of doing that, we ended up kind of switching a little bit of our focus, and we ended up looking at how to collaborate on annotations and how to turn that into IIIF at the end. Specifically the questions that we wanted to answer with our project was, is there a good workflow to allow multiple users to annotate a piece of audio, like a podcast, and then turn that into data into IIIF format? And then we also want to think about this in the context of voice interfaces. So then can we use that IIIF annotations for creating a script for voice devices based on the podcast?
Right, so we got one of the podcast episodes from FT, and we took that audio and we transcribed it, and then we selected one of the bigger chunks of a paragraph, and we started annotating it in Google Docs. We wanted to annotate different kinds of information, so we were picking up the items from that chunk that would be answers to the questions that are mentioned here. So that would be who, what, when, where, why. Then we have how, well, more in reference. The more in reference was if you would be annotating with a source of information that is being spoken in the podcast, and more would be any other contextual data that you could assign to it. Yeah, we just collaboratively added annotations to that document, and then we exported that later on into an ODT file, which you're probably going to talk about. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know this, but Andy already knew. ODT files are like archives. They contain other documents. So you can download them from Google, which it turns out is really hard to, maybe it's not hard. I found it really hard to use the Google Drive API, and all the hurdles you have to jump over to get keys and different applications. Anyway, solved it with someone else's thing. Yeah, ODT file contains loads of other stuff, and we were interested in the content XML, which is an XML document representation of the kind of space that you're actually editing when you're playing with the interface. So, Gentle.
Yes, so one of the things we did was correct the transcription at this point. So we kind of ran it through Gentle again to kind of realign it, which is fine. That cost us quite a lot of time because I didn't have that installed, so it took quite a long time to compile, which is why we don't have a really nice demo at the end. But yes, ran through that, kind of got your start and end for word level offset, which is really nice, and then just turn that into IIIF annotations. I hope is the next one. Yes. And then.
So this goes back to the content XML document that we've extracted from the ODT files. We wrote a little parser with beautiful soup to read this and unpick the nesting of the various annotations as Google describes them in that document, and construct a JSON file that makes them simpler to read for the next thing. So we make this out of the document. We can see our magic words for the questions, bits of metadata from the Google Doc API, from the Google Doc annotation, and then whatever. Yeah, that's probably that.
And then some output at the end. So we created a simple IIIF manifest so that we would be able to play this back, and then just converted the original transcription, the realigned transcription into a set of annotations to display as demonstrated by Tom and Yosha, and then just ran out of time at the end, but we would also then have had our annotations that we created ourselves in the Google Doc as another set of annotations which would have been displayed in a similar way, because obviously we were extending kind of motivations and things, so might not have made a lot of sense in those kind of interfaces, but could have been enhanced. And there they are, beautiful word level
So we didn't quite get to the second part of the initial question that we wanted to answer, which is could we create a voice interface script out of these annotations? But this is generally the kinds of things we were thinking about. Is that you could take the annotation file and you could segment the podcast into sections based on the annotations that have been written. One of the challenges that I understand with voice interfaces is that it doesn't handle interruptions really well. So if you read it like a very, very large amount of text or have like a really long audio file, if you want to interrupt it in the middle, there isn't really a good way of then going back to where you stopped. But if you segment it by annotations, and you can give people an option of possibly asking questions, and then the answers to those questions would be the annotations that were there based on the who, what, where, why, when, how,
Reference
more things that we annotated earlier. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's us. Ask us questions. Questions?
Any questions? Okay, it was really cool though. Thank you.